Do you all, Barry?
Good evening. My name is Joe Frawley. I'm from the MassDOT District 3 office in Worcester, and MassDOT is conducting a public informational meeting for the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Route 2A 110, which is Ayer Road, and Willow Road and Bruce Street in Littleton and Ayer. What I'm going to do is go through a brief presentation on the project, and then we can take any questions at the end. As well, there is a printed plan at the front of the room that we can use to talk about any specific questions or concerns later on. As well, there is a sign-in sheet at the back of the room. We would ask that everyone please sign in before the end of the meeting, so we have a list of attendees for if there's a need for any follow-up emails or questions after tonight's meeting. So I wanted to start by giving a little bit of background on how we got to tonight's informational meeting. Late last year, there was a series of crashes at this intersection, and so MassDOT met with officials from the towns of Littleton and Ayer to discuss the need for safety improvements at this location. The challenge with implementing safety improvements is that many times these geometric projects take a long time to implement, given the need for funding, as well as the need for right-of-way and to go through our standard project development process. So we worked with the town to implement improvements in two phases. We have that longer-term phase, which is to have a project that will allow us to go in and make geometric improvements that may include turning lanes, as well as making improvements for pedestrians and bicyclists. But in the short term, MassDOT committed to installing what we're calling a temporary traffic signal. It's not really temporary. The term we've been using is interim traffic signal. The idea is this is a signal that can be installed quickly this summer, where then we will, as part of the longer term project, keep the signal equipment we can keep, but some of the equipment, such as the span wire, would be likely replaced with standard traditional steel mast arms. And so in addition to that meeting, we had some follow-up meetings with town officials and abutters to discuss the conceptual design back in April. As part of those meetings with abutters, we talked through their specific issues regarding access, as well as some of the issues associated with placing equipment, and the design that we're presenting tonight reflects changes that were made after those meetings in April to address their concerns. Again, we do have a full-size set of plans here, so we can get through things that are hard to see on the screen. But what we are proposing, given, again, the desire to implement this in the short term this year, is a setup that would involve the installation of wooden strain poles like you would see at a temporary signal, with a span wire with the traffic signals, most of the traffic signals going across the middle of the intersection for the approaches on Ayer Road, as well as Willow and Bruce Street. There would be some additional ground-mounted signals for the approaches, as well as some driveways that are included in the signal that have to be placed under signal control. One is the driveway on the northeast corner for the multifamily residence. The other is the eastern driveway for the gas station, which is required given the circulation around the gas station, as well as the need to be able to load fuel at that facility and where the diesel pumps are located. A couple of other features of the signal is that detection will be provided on all the approaches that allows the traffic signal to be responsive to demand. So for example, if there is nobody on the residential driveway, that phase won't be called. It allows the signal to be as efficient as possible given the number of phases that we're going to have. Another element that's included is emergency preemption. It's a system that allows the signal to know that an ambulance or fire apparatus is approaching the intersection, and to serve that vehicle instead of going through its normal phasing. So a safety measure that's been requested by the towns to address their response concerns. And generally, each approach will have two signal heads. So there will be a lot of signal heads at the intersection to deal with the various approaches, really the 6 approaches to the intersection in general, to deal with the driveways, the 2 side streets, and the 2 approaches for Ayer Road. So this is a slightly zoomed in version of that same plan, just showing in a little bit more detail what the signal equipment will look like. Again, we can go through any specific questions regarding what something is on the plan later with the plan that we have at the front of the room. But this shows the location of the traffic signals, the location of the detection on the approaches, as well as the location of where the signal equipment will be placed. There will be that one wooden strain pole will be on the northeast corner in front of the residential property. There will be another strain pole located on the southwest corner, sort of between the gas station and the other property, and the traffic signal control cabinet will be located in the northwest corner. As part of the project, there are some improvements, some modifications to some driveway access to try to channelize movements to create some definition to the intersection. That's proposed on the northwest corner of the intersection, which is shown with a little bit of modifications to the curb line, as well as with the Chip Shots Pub on the northeast quadrant by closing the driveway closest to the intersection. One of the elements of this plan is, given the number of driveways and the geometry of the side streets, phasing this traffic signal is a challenge. So what this shows is the signal phasing that is proposed, and what it shows is that the primary phase, the first phase, is serving eastbound and westbound traffic on Route 2A and 110 on Ayer Road, with permissive left turns. Given the interim nature of this and the desire to implement this in the short term, we did not have the opportunity at this stage to add left turn lanes. That is something we know has been an interest in some of the discussions about what this intersection should look like in the future. And so certainly the longer term project, the one that we're starting to work on, would carefully evaluate the need for left turn lanes and what the impacts would be of fitting those in. And then, because of the geometry between Willow Road and Bruce Street, both approaches would have their own signal phase. So people coming out of Willow Road will be able to empty out with no interference from traffic from Bruce Street. In addition, the gas station driveway and the residential driveway will also have their own independent phases. One of the things that we expect is that while certainly this will make the intersection function in a much safer way and address the angle crash issues that have been noted at the intersection, there will be some congestion. This isn't the final solution for this intersection. And so one thing certainly that we will be doing is refining the timing to try to make it as efficient as we can in this condition. But partly we want to emphasize the idea we do understand there will be some backups on Ayer Road, maybe particularly at peak hours when there's more traffic coming out of Willow Road and Bruce Street, given the need to accommodate these driveways as part of this interim design. The last plan is another view of the signal plan. It's just highlighting in color some of the changes that are being proposed as part of the interim improvement. The green highlights the driveway closures that I previously mentioned, and one that I did not mention, which is there are two driveways currently for that residential property. The one that is on Route 2A 110 is going to be retained and signalized, but the other one that is more on Willow Road is going to be closed. In blue, that denotes areas that we have asked the abutting property owners for permission to get onto their property for purposes of constructing the signal improvements. The intent is for our contractor to get on there in a very short time frame, working with the abutter to complete the work that needs to happen with minimal disruption. I know we've already spoken with one of the abutters and talked about the need to go in and do those make those changes during the summertime when they don't have to deal with issues such as needing to accommodate young kids who need to get to the school bus or things like that while we're out there digging up to install the traffic signal equipment and to do the driveway closures. There is one location where we need to put traffic signal equipment outside of the property that is owned by MassDOT or by the towns, and that is on the southwest corner, and it is shown on red in the plan, and that is to place the strain pole, an additional signal head, as well as if there's a need for a guy wire to keep the strain pole upright because it doesn't have a traditional foundation to support it. So the next steps for the project are really to solicit feedback tonight and then to move forward this summer to get the traffic signal installed. What we are targeting is having this traffic signal in place by August before school gets back in session. Certainly this summer is probably the best time in terms of not interrupting school bus routes and other things to get the construction completed. At the same time, MassDOT is working to advance to a conceptual design for a longer term improvement to the intersection, as we discussed previously. We do have Green International, and one of the engineers from Green International is here tonight. We do have Green International on board with MassDOT to work on this assignment to be able to get design of the larger project moving forward. And I know we're going to have follow-up meetings on that project because that'll need more discussion on understanding right-of-way impacts and talking about where we need sidewalk or don't need sidewalk and versus left turn lanes and wider shoulders and all of the elements that come into trying to create a good long-term solution to the intersection and deal with the driveways, some of the issues that have come up as we've been designing this interim signal. So I wanted to thank you tonight and provide contact information for me at MassDOT District 3. If there are any questions about the design and the process, please feel free to contact us by phone or by email. Thank you very much again. I'd like to open it up to questions.
I have one. I think this is fantastic. The only question I have is on Bruce Street, heading out, and you're going to go eastbound. There'll be no signal there.
So what we have dealt with is that's a very wide curb radius, and so we really tried to figure out the best way to handle that by what we wanted to do is make sure that a vehicle making the right turn could do so. So what we've proposed here is to place that under a yield control. Certainly, if that doesn't work, if that's something that's not working well, we do have the opportunity to go in and put some additional detection in place so that if there is a vehicle that's coming up and they're having a hard time making the right turn, we can have it call that phase to help serve that vehicle. But the main reason for that right turn channelizing was we were dealing with this wide radius, and we didn't want to have it so that vehicles that were going straight across really had to jog through the intersection. So that was certainly one of the challenges we faced in this design, and that was how we proposed dealing with it at this point. So if there are no other questions.
Keith Bergman, Town Administrator, Littleton. I just want to express the thanks of both the towns of Littleton and Ayer for the great responsiveness that we've received from MassDOT and District 3. Appreciate the work that Joe and Lori have both done on this project and the speed with which it's done. And I know to use the term temporary or interim, puts this project in a category that's different than the main project and other projects which can take years to go through all of the environmental reviews and all of those other things. So we appreciate that this is a public safety problem and that the signalization needs expedited action, and we really appreciate the swiftness with which MassDOT has taken on this initial project, as well as its commitment to work with us on the longer term reconstruction of that intersection. So thank you very much for all the work you've done for us.
Thank you, Keith, and certainly we're also very thankful for Littleton as well as the town of Ayer in their help in terms of being able to go out and talk to the abutters individually. It's not something that we do very often, and it certainly, I think, helped us get to a design we're not going to have many issues, hopefully, when it gets on the street, because we have the opportunity to go out with both towns and meet with the abutters individually and discuss their concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So if there are no other questions, I would like to thank everyone for attending and declare the meeting closed. And again, mention that we have a set of plans up front if anyone has any specific issues. Thank you very much.
Well done.